Welcome to episode 51 of Wonderspace. My name is Steve Cole, and over the past year I have been asking the same 6 questions to amazing people from around the world. The questions orbit around wonder and stories of hopefulness, and the setting for each journey is this shared window on the space station from where we see everything from a different perspective. Before we introduce our guest, our friends at AskNatureorg are going to help us to re-wonder.
In the depth of the ocean, animals can't rely on sunlight to grow food. But one bottom dweller has still found a way to garden. The Yeti crab has shaggy bristles on its claws, and it uses them as a scaffold on which to cultivate bacteria. The crab waves its claws through methane-rich water that seeps up from the seafloor. The bacteria grow using the methane in place of sunlight, and the crab reaps its harvest by raking the bristles through its mouth, all in complete darkness.
Our orbit this week will take us up the east coast of America, and to experience these views with us in this ultimate window seat, we welcome Jazz Woodward. Jazz works with the NBA in New York and was nominated by our 12th guest, Ellonda Williams, who has played a key role in his remarkable story. Here is Ellonda on why she nominated Jazz.
I nominated Jazz because when I think of awe and wonder and hopefulness, he embodies that. I have seen him come back from situations that life brought his way, and I am in awe of who he is and how far he's come. He's an inspiration to me to teach people how to treat you and to always leave space for beauty to make its way back, even whenever times are tough and even whenever the outcome is unclear. Believe that better is on its way, and speaking joy into existence is an inspirational wonder, and I'm excited for everyone to hear it.
The full-length interview with Jazz can be found on the Wonderspace podcast, which you will find on our website and on most podcast platforms. For this shortened video orbit, Jazz answers 2 of our 6 questions and starts by giving us a glimpse into his life story so far.
So, I guess to start from the beginning, it's always just been me. I'm an only kid. So my father passed away when I was very young. And my mother had some challenges being a mom. So around 5 years old, she gave me up. And so most of my life, I grew up in group homes. And during that time, it was obviously very rough. I was kind of an angry kid, for a long time because there were so many things about the world I didn't understand. But what I realized later, just from doing work on myself and learning more about myself, was that all of those experiences had really made me into the person I am now, and kind of being a beacon of light for others. Because the feelings that I had about being so misunderstood and feeling like no one understood what it was like to be in my shoes, I realized that there were a lot of other people that felt that same thing. And so over time, I started to learn how to articulate my feelings and my thoughts in a way that I could make other people understand where I was coming from. And I realized that was so valuable for others, being able to put words to feelings, because sometimes that's the hardest part, is how do I say what I feel? How do I say, and articulate what I'm feeling in the inside? So when I was very, very young, my first real friend was Ellonda. I was in the 4th grade, and she really kind of like took me under her wing, because I was pretty much a shy kid. Because again, there were so many things I didn't understand about the world around me. How come I didn't have parents like everybody else? How come I couldn't have sleepovers? How come I never did things that other kids did? Because I was basically institutionalized as a kid. And so once I got out of high school, before I got out of high school, actually, I became an emancipated minor. So at 15 years old, I had basically wrote a petition to the state of Pennsylvania to ask them for my adulthood. And that was a huge move for me. And the reason why I had decided to do it is because I had inadvertently felt as though all the adults in my life had failed me. And so I didn't want to rely on them anymore. I felt like that I had seen enough and I'd experienced enough being on my own, living. I'd been homeless by that point, at 15 years old. And so I felt like I could figure it out on my own. I had successfully opened up a savings account. And so I knew what it was like to manage my money. That request was granted. And at 16 years old, I got my first apartment. And it was friends like Ellonda that really helped me, going to the thrift shop with me and, getting things from my apartment. For a number of months, I slept on a pile of clothing in the middle of my floor because I didn't have furniture. And I used to put them in the dryer and put them on the floor. And that's how I went to sleep, So all those things were really character building for me. So it taught me resilience, but it also taught me not to give up on myself, because even though sometimes times would be really hard, I always was able to use just my life as a measuring rod to recognize where I had come from compared to where I was. And that's what kept me motivated, even when it didn't look so great, And then after that, I actually decided that, funny enough, I wanted to be a Chippendales dancer. And so I was going to move to Las Vegas to work for the Chippendales. I had this whole goal. I watched the television special, seen they made all this money per week. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I was 19 years old. I'm going to Vegas to be a Chippendale. So needless to say, I got to Vegas. That's not what I ended up doing. I ended up working for a hotel. And I did that part-time while I was enrolled at UNLV. And it became a little overwhelming to go to school and to work because I was on my own. And so I ended up stopping going to UNLV and continued working at a hotel. And that's where my world kind of changed, because working as a hotel clerk, which was never my desire, I ended up meeting a lot of people who were drawn to my personality. You're very approachable, you're very outgoing, you're very friendly. And I was like, me? Really? Okay, well, all right, cool. And it got me tips. And I was like, well, if this is the way to go, then this is where I'm going to stick with. And so that led to so many blessings. I ended up, fast forward, working in a lot of luxury hotels within the Las Vegas sphere, namely the Venetian Hotel, the Bellagio Hotel, the Wynn Hotel, as a head concierge. And that won me a lot of awards within that concierge space, just guests who would meet me and that would take the time to write in their remarks about their experience with me. And so that really showed me that my personality was a gift to me. And so, because I think a lot of times we spend our life trying to figure out what's our passion, what's our gift, what's our thing, that we bring into the world. And for me, I recognized very quickly it was my ability to build quick rapport and my personality. And so being a concierge actually got me the opportunity to move to Austin, Texas. I opened up a brand new hotel in Austin a couple of years ago called the Fairmont. And so that gave me a chance to build a team from the ground up. So each of these stages taught me something about myself. And it was usually something I thought I couldn't do, right? It was like, you could never, Jazz. And then it would happen. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can do this. And so, of course, that really built me up in the confidence area. But then after working in Austin for a while, I really was feeling unfulfilled with hospitality because I wanted to really make an impact on the world in a way. And that always sounded so big. It was like, what does that mean? What will you do to impact the world? And so I wanted to get to a place that was a world-class city where I could meet different types of people from all over the world, much like it was in Las Vegas. And so that's when New York got on my radar. And, kind of directly to this opportunity, I literally wanted to move to New York so badly that I printed out resumes and I put a suit in a suitcase and I went to New York on my own dime. And I walked the streets of New York going into hotels looking for a job. I wanted to do something that was unconventional outside of putting in just an online application. I said, well, it's okay. I'll go in and I'll show my face. And if they can meet me and feel my energy, maybe that will give me a leg up. And some places were like, listen, sir, this is not how we do this here. We got a URL. You follow the rules, right? But Ritz-Carlton was one that really received that approach very well. And they were very surprised. You came from Texas to give us a resume? And that's how I got the opportunity to work at the Ritz here in New York. I was working at the Central Park location. And then as time had gone on, I worked at the Ritz. It was a couple of months. I was loving it, and they laid me off. And when they laid me off, I felt like my world was crumbling around me. I moved to New York City. I had driven a U-Haul from Texas all the way to New York. Now I'm here, and you guys say that, it's last in, first out, right? When you're trying to save money. So I ended up trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was without a job for a while. I was sleeping on friends' couches, and I got a call from a recruiter, which was from WeWork, and WeWork reached out to me. And the huge thing they were looking for in a leader was someone who was relatable, who understood struggle, who understood ambiguity, and could step into those spaces and really try to make it their own and still create a positive morale, even in the midst of not having structure. And I'm like, isn't it interesting how the universe will set you up, right? Long time ago, I'm like, ambiguity, lay it on me. No one had identified it was going to be the NBA. And so I went through about 7 interviews, 3 of which I did not know it was the NBA yet. And on that 3rd interview, that's when they revealed that it was a sports and entertainment company and it was the NBA. And, this had never been an aspiration of mine to work for the sports league, but it has given me a platform that will forever change my life. Just because of the people that I interact with and where we are, being in New York, working for this brand. So that's a little bit more expanded version as to my story. I think that one of the most resonating things that has been a common thread in my life is don't always believe what you see. And I say that to say, circumstances can make you believe that sometimes you're smaller than what you are, that you have less of an impact on the world than what you do. And so I think it's very important to remember that there's something special about you. There's something unique about you that makes you phenomenal and amazing within the world that we have. And we're all unique. We all have something that we have to bring. And so never feel small, always, challenge yourself to reach bigger and to think bigger, to whatever your wildest, most crazy thoughts are, just aim for that, because you truly never know the life that you can touch. I mean, a friend of mine who I've known for all these years nominated me for something I'd never heard of, and to know that I had the impact on her that I've had. You know what I mean? Like, you just never know the impact you're having on other people. So that's a piece of wisdom I would say. Don't give up on yourself. Always bet on yourself. Always dream the craziest, wildest, most ridiculous dream that you can, because you just might get it, So that's definitely what I would share.
I am sure you would agree that Jazz is himself a story of wonder and hopefulness, and is the rocket fuel the world needs right now. His brilliant responses to our 4 other questions can be heard on the Wonderspace podcast. To engage with the previous 50 Wonderspace episodes, go to our website, ourwonder.space. I want to thank Jazz for joining us on Wonderspace this week, and for his willingness to share his story in such an honest and compelling way. I hope you can join us next week for more wonders and stories of hopefulness.